Today, I'm going to tell you a tragic and romantic love story. We are going to use this story to help you level up your English speaking skills. The best way to improve your speaking skills is to shadow what someone else is saying. Shadowing means that you are repeating directly after someone else when they speak. So, if you would like to speak clearly and confidently like I will in this lesson, stick around because you are about to level up your speaking skills. Hi, I am Ariel from Bookish English, and like always, I have created a free videos worksheet with all of today's important vocabulary, pronunciation, and speaking tips so that you can level up your English speaking skills. You can visit my channel and watch other content like this. It is my gift to you. All right. Are you ready to get started with this tragic and romantic love story? I'm going to be telling you a section of this story. I will explain some pronunciation, and then it will be your turn to repeat that section of the story with me. I challenge you to speak out loud. It's great to hear my voice and to listen to these lessons, but I want you to be active. So, after each section, it is going to be your turn to speak out loud. Let's listen to the first part of the story. At the turn of the century, my great-grandfather immigrated to the U.S. from Naples, Italy. He married a woman, and they had 3 children together. Let's talk about this phrase, at the turn of the century. When we're talking about a century, we're talking about 100 years. So, can you imagine what the turn of the century means? Here, we're talking about around 1900. It doesn't need to be exactly at 1900 or maybe a little bit before or after. Any of that time frame is okay. When we say, at the turn of the century, we can get an idea that it's around 1900. So, you might say, at the turn of the century, a lot of new technologies were being created that drastically changed humanity. All right. Now that we've talked about this phrase, let's go back. I'm going to say that section of the story again, and then you will see a pause. I will just be sitting here like this, and I will be listening. No matter where you live around the world, I have magical teacher ears. I can hear you. So, I want you during the pause to speak out loud to repeat the words that I just said right here, and I want you to use your speaking voice. Listen to yourself using this new phrase, at the turn of the century. Practice speaking exactly like I did in this story section. Are you ready? Let's go. At the turn of the century, my great-grandfather immigrated to the U.S. from Naples, Italy. He married a woman, and they had 3 children together. Great work with your first repeating section. Let's go on to the next part of the story. Unfortunately, his wife died, so he wrote a letter to his mother back in Italy. He asked her to help him find a new wife who could help him raise his children. Let's talk about this word, unfortunately. It's quite a long word, so let's break it down so that you can pronounce it as accurately as possible. Unfortunately. 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 Unfortunately, I won't be able to make it to your party this weekend. All right, are you ready to repeat the previous story segment with me? Let's listen to it again, and then I'll pause, and I will be listening to you no matter where you are. Let's go. Unfortunately, his wife died, so he wrote a letter to his mother back in Italy. He asked her to help him find a new wife who could help him raise his children. Great work with this second section of the story that you repeated with me. Let's go on to the story. Remember that my great-grandfather has 3 children. His wife died. He asked his mother, "Please help me find a new wife so that I can have someone to help raise my children." What happens? Let's see. She found him a wife from their village, and in her letter, she included his future wife's dimensions so that he could bring a wedding dress to Italy that would fit her. Let's take a look at this word, dimensions. First, the pronunciation. Let's break it down. Dimensions. 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 So, he has his future wife's dimensions. What does that mean? It's talking about her physical measurements so that he can take those dimensions, those numbers, to a tailor. And that tailor can create a wedding dress that will exactly fit his future wife, whom he's never met before. We can also talk about dimensions for other things. So, if you're building a table, you might say, "I need the dimensions of the table to be 5 feet by 3 feet, so it exactly fits in my kitchen." Okay, these are just the physical numbers so that you know the size of an item, or in this case, a person. All right, I'm going to repeat that section of the story. I want you to focus specifically on the pronunciation of the word dimensions, and I want you to speak out loud after you hear me repeat the section one more time. Let's go. She found him a wife from their village, and in her letter she included his future wife's dimensions so that he could bring a wedding dress to Italy that would fit her. Let's continue with the story. Typically, in these situations, at the turn of the century, the woman, the wife, would be shipped to the man in the U.S. whom she would marry. This is called a mail-order bride, but my great-grandfather did things a little bit differently. He chose to go back home to Italy to meet the woman before he married her. Let's talk about this word, shipped. First, the pronunciation. Notice that at the end there is a T sound. Shipped. Shipped. Usually we use the word shipped for packages. I am shipping a package to my sister. Amazon shipped me my order. But a long time ago, apparently, we shipped people back and forth. So in this situation, we're talking about a person, but you are most likely to use this to talk about a package. All right, let's repeat this section together, and then I want you to say it out loud. Let's go. Typically, in these situations, at the turn of the century, the woman, the wife, would be shipped to the man in the U.S. whom she would marry. This is called a mail-order bride. But my great-grandfather did things a little bit differently. He chose to go back home to Italy to meet the woman before he married her. All right, are you ready for the best part of the story? In a twist of fate, he fell in love not with the woman his mother had chosen for him, but with her sister, Antoinette Minolfi. This phrase, a twist of fate, perfectly describes this scenario. Well, everything in my family was changed because he married a different woman. I'm here because he chose to marry Antoinette Minolfi, not the woman his mother had chosen for him. So, here, when we're talking about fate, we're talking about destiny, something that is out of our control. It just happened. Now, in the story, I use this in a positive way. In a twist of fate, maybe a surprising way, he chose to marry her sister instead. But we can also use this with one added word to talk about really negative situations. we could add the word cruel. Cruel is like wicked or evil. So we could say, on a cruel twist of fate, she scored the winning goal, but then she got injured and couldn't play anymore through the rest of the season. Well, it was her destiny that even though she scored the winning goal, she wouldn't be able to play the rest of the season. It's something that was outside of her control, and it feels a little bit cruel, wicked, or evil, because she should be their star player, but instead she got injured. It was a cruel twist of fate. All right, now it's your turn to repeat that story section with me. Let's go. In a twist of fate, he fell in love, not with the woman his mother had chosen for him, but with her sister, Antoinette Minolfi. In their wedding pictures, Antoinette is wearing the wedding dress that was meant for someone else, her sister. This phrase, to be meant for, is talking about intention. It was intended to go to someone else, but that's not really what happened. So we could say, the award was meant for her, but they gave it to someone else by mistake. Okay. So it was intended for the winner, but they accidentally gave it to someone else instead. It was meant for her. Oops. All right. Now it's your turn to repeat this story segment with me and speak out loud. Let's go. In their wedding pictures, Antoinette is wearing the wedding dress that was meant for someone else, her sister. In my opinion, the dress is symbolic of their love story. Even though the dress was meant for someone else, they were always meant for each other. I like this word, symbolic, because we often use this in these beautiful, poetic expressions. The dress is symbolic of their love story. It represents their love story. You could say something like this. Usually, a dove is symbolic of peace and hope. This is something that reminds us of peace and hope. All right, now it's your turn to repeat this story segment and speak out loud. In my opinion, the dress is symbolic of their love story. Even though the dress was meant for someone else, they were always meant for each other. After they got married, they immigrated back to the U.S. and had 3 children of their own. This phrase, of their own, can also be changed to of my own, of his own, of your own. We're talking about ownership, something that's belonging to you. I want you to take a look at this other sample sentence. I lived in a small apartment until I had enough money to buy a house of my own. Notice how the subject, I, matches with the pronoun in this expression, of my own. I and my need to match, and that's what I used in the story. We're talking about them and their own. Beautiful. All right. Now it's your turn to repeat the story segment out loud. Let's go. After they got married, they immigrated back to the U.S. and had 3 children of their own. Are you ready for some more tragedy in this love story? Here we go. Unfortunately, her husband, my great-grandfather, died, leaving her to raise 6 children in a new country on her own. Let's talk about this phrase, on her own, because we just talked about something very similar, of her own. But here, we're going to change one word, on her own. And it's going to completely change the meaning. Got to love English, right? So, in this phrase, when we say that she raised the children on her own, this means alone, with no help. She has no husband to help bring in an income, to help with the children, to help be a man in the house. She is on her own. completely alone. And just like our previous phrase, the pronoun needs to match the subject. So, take a look at this sentence. I film these lessons on my own. There's no one else here in this room setting up the camera, the microphone, or the lights. It's just me here on my own. But having said that, I don't run this business on my own. Here, we're having the subject, I run the business on my own. I have a lot of wonderful help. People who help to edit the videos, people who help to proofread and make sure that I'm not making mistakes that are going to teach you the wrong things. People who help to create the content that will help you to learn more English. There are wonderful people who are helping me, but I am filming these lessons on my own. All right, now it's your turn to repeat this story segment, this tragic part of the story. Don't worry, it will get better in the next segment, but I want you to repeat this segment out loud. Use your speaking voice. Go ahead. I'm listening. Unfortunately, her husband, my great-grandfather, died, leaving her to raise 6 children in a new country on her own. Somehow, my great-grandmother, Antoinette Minolfi, made it work, and she is the beloved matriarch of our family. Let's talk about this lovely expression, beloved matriarch. Here, this first expression has an ed at the end, but listen to how it's pronounced, beloved. There is a V and a D side by side. Beloved. You can use this for plenty of things. For example, my children have a beloved stuffed animal that they love to hug at night. It's something that they love. It is a beloved stuffed animal. In that second word, matriarch, we often hear the other word, patriarch. It's a patriarchal society. We hear that word a lot in society, the news and social media, but the opposite word is matriarch. Matriarch. Notice that the end of this word sounds like a K, matriarch, and this is when a woman is the one who is the leader. Antoinette Minolfi is the beloved matriarch of my family. She's the woman who really held together my whole family. All right, now it's your turn to repeat this part of the story. Speak out loud. We only have one more speaking section left to go after this, so give it your best. Speak out loud. Here we go. Somehow, my great-grandmother, Antoinette Minolfi, made it work, and she is the beloved matriarch of our family. Everyone looks up to her, and I even had a picture taken with her when I was a baby. It's amazing how these timelines collide. Let's take a look at this final phrasal verb, to look up to someone. It's not that I'm physically looking up because she's tall. No. Instead, we're talking about respecting someone. Everyone in my family looks up to Antoinette Minolfi because she kept the family together. She endured extreme tragedy and hardship. But do you know what? Because of her, my family was able to succeed, and thank goodness I'm here today. I'm so grateful to her. So let's talk about this great expression, to look up to someone. You could also say this. One of my French teachers was exciting, interesting, and so helpful. When I became an English teacher, I really looked up to him. This means I respected him. I wanted to emulate how he taught because I loved that feeling of enjoying learning French and actually learning. So I hope that that's true for you, that you're enjoying learning and you're actually learning English. All right, let's repeat this final section together. Speak out loud, use your voice, and repeat with me. Let's go. Everyone looks up to her, and I even had a picture taken with her when I was a baby. It's amazing how these timelines collide. Well, thank you so much for repeating with me this lovely, tragic, and romantic love story in my family. I hope that you are able to speak out loud and improve your English speaking skills by listening to your voice and challenging yourself to speak out loud. You can tell me about an important moment in your family's history using the vocabulary from this lesson. I can't wait to help you. Well, thanks so much for learning English with me, and I'll see you again next day for a new lesson here on my YouTube channel. Bye. But wait, do you want more? I recommend watching this video next, where you will repeat with me an embarrassing story of something that happened to me a long time ago. You should check out that video to find out what happened, and I'll see you there.